You see, something is going to happen. Something wonderful.
My God, it's full of stars.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the NY Patriot Show. In this episode, I am joined by Lisa. I have had her on the Occult Rejects a few times. I actually don't know if you've been on the NY Patriot. Maybe you have. I get confused with like who's on what. I'm not sure it is sometimes. But I've had you on recently on the Occult Rejects, so I'm sure anybody watching this or listening to this already knows who you are. But I got you jumping on. You've done some great research and work with me on the last few topics. Elon Musk, the Gilgo Beach, the I series. I mean, that was, a banger in itself. 3 episodes long. Thank you very much, Lisa. And thank you for jumping on in such a short notice.
Absolutely.
And today's guest, I got Daniel Diaz. And he is an author and a writer. I do like when I'm able to get people on who have actually written books. I know I've said that before, and I got somebody else, I think, coming on soon, too, who's actually written something. But we have Daniel Diaz, and he had wrote Who Would Have Thought? A Server with PTSD Story. And he was actually suggested by me, and then I think he was suggested me to him by Janet, Deplorable Janet. So shout out to Deplorable Janet for making this episode happen. Unfortunately, Teresa could not make it, and she is actually a big fan of your channel, your Instagram as well, and your stuff. Unfortunately, she's being a mom today since it's the summer and the kids are home. So she could not make it. But thank you very much, Daniel, for coming on. This is a topic that I really do find interesting, and I do think, it's on point. Something that we will get into as we're discussing your book is that you are, also talking about like social media, and I do think social media and the TV has a big play in all of this as well, and I know you do touch on that. So enough out of me and enough, talking about you two. Daniel, give everybody a chance to, get an idea of who's Daniel Diaz, what's up with this book, and where they can find any of your links that you'd like to promote.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Daniel Diaz, guys, and I'm a writer, and I wrote a book about a server who suffers from PTSD, but he's not aware that he has PTSD. And then he just thinks he's going crazy when he's triggered, and especially when he is at the restaurant that he has to serve people and then somebody mistreat him, his mind gets triggered and he thinks something is wrong with him. But then he's introduced to cannabis by his coworkers, and then he starts becoming aware that his mind has a certain kind of chemistry imbalance. And then he starts changing his mind by controlling his mind, or changing his life by controlling his mind. And then he started, making better choices, performing better at his job. He started, getting in touch with nature. And then he goes to work in a nightclub at some point of the book, which is very seducing to get him to drink alcohol. And then he becomes an alcoholic in some point of the book, which is perfect to show you the difference between cannabis and alcohol and what they both can do if you exaggerate them. But also it's like a neo-age story, that there's a whole journey that this guy goes through. The book is narrated in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. I love this state, and it's kind of my love letter to Florida as well. Because everybody thinks of Orlando as Disney place, the parks, and let's go to Universal, Disney, or,
You know what's
Garden.
funny? Those are the last things I think about when I think of Florida now. It's so funny.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's with my age and I don't have kids, so I'm like, oh, who cares?
Yeah.
But, I don't think of that anymore. But when I was younger, that's all I associated with because I've been to all those.
Yeah, there's all to talk about, but we have a lot of nature in here, so I wanted to address
Alligators,
that in a way.
crocodiles.
Yeah, we have a lot of springs. In the second page of my book, I'm talking about Genie Springs, which is one of my favorite spots. So I try to get this connection with nature in a spring. That's where I got it from, and I try to portray because I think we're losing that connection so far. A lot of people, they're not in touch with their primal instinct, and we all, thinking with the conscious mind too much, and you're trying to copy everybody. You're not having any original ideas nowadays, the majority of people. So
you know what I want to say real quick, and I'm not saying this to purposely badmouth anybody. It's just that I do feel unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of that even with podcasting, especially in the conspiracy community. It's just like I think there's a lot of like I need to be like somebody else, and honestly, that's kind of ruining it, and I think it's kind of I don't know whatever, but yeah, there's a lot of that I just see, you know, in every day. But I have noticed that, and the reason I'm even bringing it up is because I've noticed it about myself. And as soon as I cut that shit out, as soon as I cut that shit out, I enjoyed and started really loving what I was doing.
Yes.
Because I wasn't putting myself, pitting myself against something I had to achieve and strive for. You know, I'm just gonna make it happen and be me.
Yeah, there is a little bit of imposter syndrome in everybody. Like you don't want to do your stuff because you think your stuff is bad. But then one thing there is like somebody else is doing it seems more cool. But then if you do what somebody else is doing, nobody else is gonna see you, and then nothing is gonna be different. Because the difference you can make, I guess, is being like the energy you are, right? Something that is inside of you, nobody can copy. And then if you open. You know, like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to forget that and just see whatever. It doesn't really add up. And then it's kind of cringing. You look at social media, you cringe a lot, you know. And
yeah. I hardly really, I make posts and then I get off. I don't even look at stuff anymore.
Yeah, what I do on social media right now, because I have to promote my book, is like, because we're too deep too, so we cannot forget social media. We cannot say like, oh, I'm not going to be a part of this. If you say that, you're going to be like losing something that is basically happening.
It's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
You got to know how to wield it right, and you might be all right.
There's a positive side to it, right? So everybody, like, for me to be here right now today with you guys, it means there was social media that made this connection happen. There is a positive side to it, but there's the downside. I like a comparison, like, you know, in the 70s, everybody was smoking cigarettes, and nobody really knew what was.
Smoking in Burger King. They had gold ashtrays in there.
Yeah, so you didn't know that cigarettes would kill you, but then it started to become clear this affects your health. And then everybody started like, oh, because the marketing would be like symptom to freedom, right? You smoke is a freedom time because you're free from everybody.
Oh, the cowboy's smoking, you know, he's free.
Yeah, the guy riding a motorcycle is smoking a cigarette. And then now that everybody knows that kind of does, you know, that harms you, it's very, you know, talk about. So I think social media is getting that way now. It's going to be like the cigarettes of the future.
You know what's funny too? I do think that like... Not that there was social media back then, but advertising was like, I think that was even like what made it okay for women now to smoke. Like they needed advertisements or something in whatever to say, oh, it's okay for a woman to be seen with a cigarette now. So like all of a sudden, like that actually started spiking up, women smoking.
Yeah.
Because at first it was like, oh, that's not ladylike. You know what I'm
saying? Right.
So like even because of advertising, that worked.
Yeah. And now we
being
have
told what's what, you know what I'm saying? It's so weird.
Yeah, man. And so I address this in my book with some characters that, you know, because if you work in a restaurant, man, like if you met people, they're kind of, you know, characters in a book already. You know, you met people, they're kind of either cool or they're crazy or they're assholes. So you're dealing with them on a daily basis. And then what happens, right? You're going to learn with them or you're going to be affected by them. And one thing is like social media. So we have now we have let's say you meet, I remember I met this server and she was like, oh, what do you want to do, you know, like with your life? And she was like, oh, I want to be an influencer. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell products on my page and I'm going to make thousands per week. And she also like, you know, had everything figured out with the OnlyFans. You know, she had an OnlyFans program that she was, you know, taking pictures and making videos. And I was like, God damn, I never met anybody like that. But then this was 2017, 2018 to 2021. How many more girls I met that said the same thing to me? Oh, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to be, you know. And it's funny because they make like an account as if they're somebody really successful and they're wearing these jackets and driving, you know, a Mercedes, but they don't drive a Mercedes. And I don't know why they're wearing the jackets and it seems like they're a real estate agent already or something. And it's just like a level, like kind of delusion that doesn't really happen before, man. And it's very interesting to pay attention to because as you see at some point, they're just gonna give up on that. Like some point they're just gonna go back to the Instagram. Some pictures will be deleted, and then normal life is kicking in again. And then 6 months later, another change is coming. They're trying something else. Instead, that's the main problem that I think is, what is your energy? What is you? What are you? Who are you? Like, oh, are you somebody that came here to write a book? Are you somebody that came here to do a podcast? Are you somebody who came here to paint or to build furniture? Like, all these things, they can add up. They can make you somebody. But then if you're not looking for it, you're not gonna find it. That's like nobody is looking for it anymore. Somebody's just copying. There's a huge issue.
Yeah. You said a few things, and I kind of started thinking about a bunch of stuff. I don't know where to go with that now. And then I had a brain fart. Sorry.
I was going to interject and say, if you're busy looking at everybody else's life, the tribal mentality kicks in, and that you think you have to fit in with the tribe, and so you're so busy trying to fit in that you don't even hear your own voice to tell you who you were, like what you said, who you came here to be.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's what's up, man, because it frustrates me because, like you talk to people and they're looking for money, right? They want money. Money means something. And one thing that really is happening is people want to make money today just so the world's problem cannot apply to them anymore. It's not they're trying to make the world a better place, They're not trying to do something that is going to positively affect the world. They're trying, okay, there's a lot of shit happening in the world. The only way out for me is to make money. So let me make money no matter how. And then that problems that is happening, they're happening. They're not going to apply to me anymore. So that's kind of like there's division, right? Everybody's divided right now. But then the Great Awakening, like, whatever is happening, that people now, this is the lowest, and then we are going up after this at least. If you think like, oh, we're gonna go and be dominated, because there is like the propaganda that tells you the 2030, you're not gonna own anything, you're gonna be happy, things are gonna be delivered to you by drones, you're gonna be home all day. So I think that's one vision that might happen, but also I think there's a lot of things spiritually saying that are happening too. People are waking up. Like more people also are realizing, like, you know what, I went to the woods last night or yesterday and I had this great experience. I was by myself, I didn't have anybody, I lost my phone somewhere, and I went there, it was just me, skies, mountains, rivers, I didn't see anybody. It was perfect. You know what, I'm gonna do that again. And I'm not gonna be minded if somebody calls me crazy. That's also happening to a larger degree than ever, right now. So there's hope.
I do think that is, I don't know. I guess maybe, awakening would, I guess, fit, but for sure. But I also do think, like, I think people are starting to realize, like, kind of like how screwed up things have gotten. And I guess to an extent, like, even realizing, like, how much social media and even, like, the TV, the movies, stuff like that, news, how much that is kind of, like, screwing your head up as well, that I do think you're actually getting a lot of people just looking for another option or just looking for something else. In a sense, like, I think people are even getting just tired of, like, the status quo or what's going on, that like, I need to change something with myself.
There's a lot of drama and negativity, right? Like, spread
especially,
out.
Yes. Especially the last few years, yeah.
So do you guys do, like, you guys tribe psychedelics? I know you tribe psychedelics, right? Because you were on it. But do you into the psychedelic therapy and stuff?
I've never tried it, but I have studied a lot of it, especially with peyote and ayahuasca. I'm always interested in the physiological effects. It's always fascinated me, especially with the projects that have happened in the past with LSD and why they were exploring it and what was that. And then you see it demonized, and then later it comes back on board for treating PTSD. Yeah. I think Gabor Mate had talked about that a little bit. And then you see the trend of people heading down to South America for the ayahuasca trips. And and stuff like that. So that completely fascinated me, and I started looking into the physiological effects of psychedelics.
Yeah, it's the greatest name, man. Like literally for me, because I mean, my book now, my first book is about cannabis. You know, I want to like, because also, you know, there's not a book out there that describes from the first moment somebody smokes a joint and then they smoke to the point where they realize, okay, I need this. You know, I never read a book about like this, because I mean, when I was smoking, the first time I smoked, I remember that I felt very guilty, even though I was doing good. Because I mean, my mind was, oh my God, you know what? I hope God doesn't punish me, man. You know, it was something along those lines when I got high the first time. I was so scared because the guilty, like the society, like all this programming that they taught us, that cannabis was just the devil's lettuce, right? And I was really scared for a long time. And then I was like, you know what, man? Actually, I'm working my ass off, you know, every day, and then I get home. My mind is kind of crazy, and this thing helps me. Like I smoke, and it gives me like, you know, the detachments from everything. I can see things clearly. So I'm actually not gonna stop smoking this. I'm gonna do my own research, and then I start looking into it, and then see, like, I saw everything, you know, since the propaganda from the 30s to Nixon, and then how everything changed during the narrative they put it on our heads. You know, like, holy shit, this is sucks. And I started, you know, there is a whole branch that you go on psychedelics. So cannabis, I started, and then I went on mushrooms, and then I spent like a full year just doing mushrooms. And I was doing these experiments where I used so funny thing is, like, I used to call myself, you know, at this point in time, the psychedelic soldier. Like, you know, I'm doing the job, man. Like, I'm gonna sleep for myself, you know.
Yeah,
That's
because I
great.
was doing everything right when I quit. So I was an alcoholic for 3 years, and then I lost my job because I was drunk, and then I went through a really rough depression. This is all in the book, is like kind of it's the real experience that I put in the novel, and then it's relatable to everybody. But like, the book is not an autobiography, but is based on my life experience. And then I went through a rough depression, and I was kind of like, oh Jesus, I fucked up, you know, God damn it. And I started doing psychedelics with like cannabis, but then I started working with mushrooms as well. I studied a lot of Terence McKenna. I did all my research before I went deep on that field. And then I started doing what I call the exposure therapy, right? I would take some quantity, and then I would go to work in the restaurant. It was very different a lot of times, you know, because sometimes I would not do a small dose and go around just to see how I would react. So it took like a lot of, you know, because I mean, I remember one time, imagine you take mushrooms, you walk into a restaurant, it's busy, man. And then you're dealing with this table, they're kind of upset. You're a server, you're dealing with these people, they're kind of hungry. I remember that I started looking at them at some point, I was seeing patterns in their heads, you know, like very strong stuff, and I was like, Jesus. So I started becoming aware of both sides of the psychedelic power, of the negative one and also the very positive one, because I put myself in situations where I was fucking like, oh my God, this is bad, man. And then I work my way out of it. So it's very helpful when you understand the whole, you know, power of the plant. And today, my next book, I will address mushrooms, because the same way I did with this one.
That's good.
Like, first time somebody smokes a joint and then goes into, you know, the moment they realize they need it. Like, I want to do that with mushrooms too. Like, you need it, man. Like, you might need it, because there's one night. Sometimes it's like, it's the crazy thing, right? It's one night and it changes forever. Like, it kind of, you know, resets your brain.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what?
amazing.
I'd like to ask both of you, because I think you know, I kind of think Lisa was like almost getting there before earlier with something she said, and Daniel, I know we're both talking about, like, you know, weed, psychedelics, mushrooms, and how all that stuff can be helpful. And I do think, like, really with anything, once you start taking it to an extreme, it's just gonna be, you know, not as positive as an experience or good for you. Have you wondered if there, you know, I have wondered, and I do have like kind of an idea or a theory, that this stuff now is almost kind of being pushed, maybe in a way that's like leads you to abusing it a little bit more. Well, yeah, like I do feel like DMT or ayahuasca and mushrooms, because you just mentioned it now. Sometimes I do feel like, I'm wondering, is there 3-letter agencies that are behind this now just trying to push it because it sells?
I mean,
I'm not denying the benefits of this stuff. I'm just saying, is there...
No, politics are always going to be behind, right? They have motive. They need this, like, they have control. They need to control everything that is happening. The fact, for me, that is the most positive is just because if you know about the 70s and how they stop everything, like the psychedelic revolution was about to kick in a whole nother level, and then they just war on drugs. War on drugs, don't let your kids say no to drugs, which is great. I'm not like, one thing that I always say is like psychedelics also is not for everybody, like it's not everybody that can do those things, because your brain, man, it's, a balance of a lot of chemistry. There's a lot, your brain is a psychedelic thing. So if you have schizophrenia, let's say, it's not going to be a positive experience. If you take the drug, so it's going to open doors in your mind. That's why it's called the doors of perception. So if you take some drugs, they're going to open some, like what happens with mushrooms is you have the right side of your brain, if I'm not mistaken. So the right side of your brain is the, rational side. The left side of your brain is the creative, or either it's the other way around. I'm not sure. But when you take mushrooms, these things, they don't communicate in a regular state of mind. When you take the mushrooms and the psychopsychotic start, acting on it, it kind of, makes the information flow. So you're accessing both emotional and logical. For some people, their emotional or their logical mind are in a very serious imbalance. They're not. So those doors to open to some people are only gonna hurt.
I think, some people like that, I do question if their doors are already open and they don't realize it. You know what I'm saying? Like, or to open too far and then adding this stuff is just like adding doors now. You're adding a few windows too.
So psychedelics are very, I don't like to have, an easy way to get a psychedelic. Like you should be like seriously induced, preparation, setting. There's a lot that goes into the experience for you to have a successful experience, Yes.
Right.
If you don't do that, you are kind of setting yourself up for failure. And also, do it when you have, like a good life. I don't know, like you're in peace. Yes. Because what psychedelics does, it brings out whatever is in you. So if you're avoiding something, let's say you're avoiding, your job you hate or something that is really, those things that you don't know that you carry with yourself, but then you're walking around like with some sort of anger. And you don't know like why people just tell you like, oh dude, you seem off, like you're rude right now. You're like, me, I'm rude, what? Like those things that gets you in this negative state, they're waiting on your subconscious with some problem. And then you take psychedelic. The thing with psychedelic, like for me, it doesn't really lie. It just shows you like, dude, this is what's bothering you. You're being avoiding it. Especially like even with cannabis, sometimes you smoke a good joint, and then it goes to you like, that dreading feeling of like, oh, I'm avoiding, like this thing is gonna blow up. Like I've been avoiding this problem, and now it's coming to me. It's gonna bite me.
It's funny, and not even to say like this is, maybe not even a good thing. Maybe I should be able to think of it sober, but there's a lot of times when I'll get stoned and I'll even realize like how much I'm an asshole or how much I was wrong about something or the way I reacted or my thinking. And I'm like, damn, like I can chill out. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like there are times where I actually do kind of like when I'm stoned, I will do self-inventory. And at times then I seem to be a little bit more honest with myself, actually. And I can accept the honesty for a little bit easier. I again, that should probably be a trait without the weed, to be totally honest with you. But
did you ever smoke, Lisa?
No, I haven't. But I was going to say, people that I've met that have smoked or done psychedelics, they're probably the most authentic and unpresumptuous people I've ever met. Anyone that has never done it, myself included, the authenticity is there. You can tell it in their eyes. You can tell it in their rawness. It's almost like it was dropped or something somewhere along the way of it all. But going back to I wanted to say the psychedelics, I spent some time with a shaman down in South America. I didn't do it, but he said that about ayahuasca. And he said, ayahuasca is like, it digs into your brain and it finds a thing that you've been hiding the most. And it just like, what is this? And it just shows it in your face. And it's like, you've been hiding this. What is this? Deal with this now. And so he's like, you have to prepare. You have to fast. You have to be in a state of mind. You can't just show up and like, I'm here, let's do it. You literally have to go through all the rituals prior to. So
yeah, the worst thing you can do, like when I see people, like this hurts me like in a way. When I see people, those festivals, like those kids festivals, EDC, like, which is cool because it seems like it's very, love guided. I don't know, but like, I see people taking mushrooms to go to this place. I'm like, dude, like, don't, because then like the drug loses its meaning.
Yes.
For me, mushrooms are very spiritual. You should have a spiritual experience when you're on them.
That's really a good way to say it, man, for real.
Fuck, because it's crazy, man. Like, you're taking that to go in an environment that somebody might fight. What if you experience a fighting during the fighting?
And then think you might get stuck with that screwed up thought because of that for a few hours now. Like, but like, I really think like what you're saying is great. And like, I've normally never really been too opinionated, and normally these things aren't stuff that I would have talked about on my show this in depth. Again, maybe not worrying about being like other people. I don't care anymore, and it interests me, so I'm going to talk about it, and I will give my opinion now. This stuff, I think what the problem is with it, and from my experience, again, this is from my own self-experience and what I've seen other people do, and why I wonder if there is like a 3-letter agency behind it, is that this is stuff for me. I think that when you have an experience with it, it is to help make this world a more beautiful place. Your experience, you should be bringing something back here to make this existence even more beautiful than it is. And unfortunately, it seems like people think I need to take that to live in the beautiful existence. That is my escape from this world. When no, you have it backwards. You should be bringing back gifts from that experience to share with this world or experience in this world.
That's exactly.
We've got it ass backwards, and I had it like that for years as a kid. So that's why I see it different now.
Hey, listen, one thing that you guys are very big into it that I see. So you guys are into Carl Jung, right?
Into what?
Carl Jung.
Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, yeah, especially Occult.
Motherfucker, that guy was a badass, man. Wow. Like, the way he points it, because, he completed my lesson. So I was going through all this spiritual awakening stuff, and I was kind of like, oh my God, there's nothing that I can build my structure on. Like, because there is the books, you see some books, they help you. Like, one book that helped me a lot it's called Mastery by Robert Greene. And this guy, he lays it out how you can achieve everything in your life through, taking time to devote yourself to the thing that you want to be. And it's going to take hard work, and it's going to break the barriers. So in this book, Robert, he addresses kind of one thing that nobody else addresses, called the sublime, the sublime connections, because there is something else happening. We are here right now, but there's another realm that communicates with us, so for you to write something that is meaningful along those lines, it has to be something from a genius. And Carl Jung, man, whenever you read something from him, it's so comforting, like it's comforting. You read and he knows what he's saying, and in a way that is spiritual, is scientific, and also, personal, right? Because he is great to like talk about spirituality, but in a way that is scientific too. And then he explains everything to you in the occult too. And it's just, fuck, man, a guy like him is so useful. And then he's not even alive anymore. So I think this is the point, right? You should do something that is gonna left a legacy like this, you know, which is fucking nobody can be a Carl Jung, you know. In a way, that is your own way of doing that. What is it? You know, is it be an influencer? Maybe, but like if you're being an influencer because you think your friend now has money because she, you know, posts pictures of her booty, and now you want to go to right? So there is a whole fucking spectrum that these things happen, right? So I want like, well, my message for me, like I always, because I would never read this if I didn't sit with myself and got done with my own bullshit. You know, like, listen, man, like you want to live this way right now, so get it together, man. Just because, I mean, a few years from now, I might be doing good because of this book. You know, I have like a whole kind of plan to go with it, and I got a lot of positive feedback, so I kind of enjoy this journey. I'm gonna write more, and now I have this field that I can really go in, and you know what might happen, man. Nobody knows. It might be very positive.
You were saying about, you know, in terms of the commercials and the propaganda, and you were talking about when you first smoked that you felt guilty and that God was going to punish you. It's funny because nobody thinks that when they take their first drink of alcohol.
Yeah,
because it's socially acceptable. You see it on TV all the time. You see it on the movies. You see it on commercials and advertisement. Anytime that people are enjoying themselves, they're having a drink. It's almost as akin to when I was growing up that, you know, you weren't supposed to kiss boys, right? And so the first time I did, I thought I was pregnant. You know, I was like, immediately, I'm like, God's going to strike me down because of the propaganda, because of the amount of what they tell you that is wrong, that you start to viscerally believe it. So
yeah, I thought that was actually really like a good point that he had said earlier about that, like really like almost condemning yourself for like even the action that you just did. And like, you know, I and I'm not knocking religion really with this, but like it's funny now how it's just like, if you think about it, like the last few years, science has been a way for people to condemn others and themselves. And it's like, you know, it was like these religious views that we had that made ourselves condemn our actions. It's like, how much of that was just someone wanting to make people behave the way they want them to?
Yeah, like there is a danger in freedom, right? There is a danger that you're gonna achieve some state of mind that you're not supposed to, and you become aware of this yourself when you are having some sort of, you know, I don't know. I go too deep in books, and I remember some point in my life I was like, oh my god, you know, I really thought that like I might be a fish that went too deep in the ocean, and now I'm on the dark part of it. Wow, bro, because I knew. Listen, I read Nietzsche, you know, like I read Nietzsche when I was 15 years old, and then I was reading Camus and all this, like, it's just basically existentialism. And then, like, what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of that? And then I would go to bars, and my friends were like, what are you talking about? What? Like, you're talking about suffering and shit? And, you know, so
maybe reading those books at a young age is what kind of has screwed you.
Yeah, yes, man.
That's some deep shit for that age, man. Yeah. For real.
Yeah, if you read Nietzsche, right? So one thing that he does, he kind of peels off the human hypocrisy, and then you see it in front of your eyes, and then you'll be like, "Hey, bro, you don't fuck with me like that. You know what? I'm seeing you. I see that. I see." Like it becomes kind of like, bro, this guy thinks I don't know that. He's manipulating me right now. What the fuck? You know, it's kind of a thing. Well, it was a thing for me back then, but you know. What I was saying is that whenever you go into these fields and then you dive in, man, I read and it gives me comfort. But fuck, I think I lost my point. What the fuck am I saying?
It's quite what right. I do that here all the time.
You were saying how like Carl Jung, and then you started reading Nietzsche, and then that diving in at an early age, leaving your mark. I'm going down the list.
Yeah, I probably screwed him up too, saying something. It's quite
yeah.
Right
So, though. I mean, I don't know, whatever. But let me tell you something. Then, you said something about the alcohol, and then it opened my mind to this question. So don't you guys think it's fucking crazy that alcohol is the only drug that if you don't do it, people ask you why? What? Yeah. You don't drink? What?
Yes.
Don't you think that's so crazy? Like, what?
I had someone told me that they literally said that they don't trust a man if he doesn't
Yeah,
drink.
yeah. They go, oh, you want to keep in the shadows, huh? Like, that's what they say, right? Oh, you don't
So
drink.
weird.
You want to keep yourself in the shadows, huh? And then, like, dude, oh my God, for me, for me to be talking about alcohol, I drink a lot of my life, So I drink, I think, for 3 lives. I'm good with alcohol for 3 lives because I was in a bar. I was a bartender at this nightclub, and we would like just work bartending and serving. So we would get fucked up, man. Oh, every time, every time, every time. It was nice because it was kind of rock star lifestyle. Every day you're partying and everything's going, in a fun environment. But then it kind of gets toxic too, and I paid the price for that, which was to lose my job at the time, and I became like jobless for a couple months, and I had to get my shit together, and it was rough because I couldn't get the guilty of like, oh my God, this was the coolest job I ever had, and now I fucked up, and Jesus Christ, I'm drinking either, like I'm still drinking, and I would drink every day, man. I couldn't get out of it, and once I realized that really was a thing, I was like, okay, this might be an alcoholic problem because it's 10 o'clock in the morning and I'm drinking a mug of vodka, like a mug. Like what the fuck? Because I mean, because I mean, I think when you're alcoholic, a lot of things happen, right? You don't have your money in order. Like that was up with me. So I have, like, my money was very imbalanced, and then all these bills were piling up, and then the only way I could control that was to drink. There's a good question that Carl Jung he makes. He goes and says like, one question is, what is your obsession? What is your addiction help you manage it? What does your addiction help you manage? Because your addiction is an addiction because it helps you manage something, right?
Or it's making you think that at least.
It's a coping mechanism. Yeah.
Right. So drinking, I was avoiding reality. And it was like kind of getting in my way of living. And then I had like, okay, this is not good. I got to stop this shit. And then I got, away from it. And listen, like, I still drink, like once a week. No, sorry. I still drink like here and there. If I go out, I'll have a beer or a sangria, but that's it. Like if I go two or more drinks, I get immediately like hungover right then and there. It sucks. And one time I was on mushrooms, and I'm gonna make this quick because it was a lot of grams that night. And the mushroom kind of started, because I mean, when you do these things, it kind of communicates with you, it teaches you a lesson, because you go to this place where you're no thing and no one, and you're just this energy that is resonating. And so the mushroom starts saying to me, so right now, Daniel, you are in a very good place, because this morning you work out, you ate right. You don't have any conflicts in your love life. You don't have any conflicts in your business life. You are working out every day. You're eating right. Everything's coming to you. When you do all these things, Daniel, you start emitting a very specific frequency to people, and that draws them to you. Okay, but if you have a drink right now, it's gonna dull it. So. It literally was like the mushrooms teaching me this lesson that night. Like, listen, when you like, it was showing me everything that I was doing, and they're like, when you do this, you write, you perform better, you talk with people better, so you are this person that people realize that you are. And then if you drink, it might makes you feel loose a little bit, but then it's gonna kill the frequency, man. Don't do it. And I remember it was very serious this moment for me, and then I was just like, oh my God, I did. Because I feel like today, right? I'm gonna wake up, and then I jump in the pool. I came here. I'm doing the podcast with you, and then I cannot wait, man, to go to the gym, to get going. And like, I go high to the gym. I smoke, I go.
I can't do that for some reason. I won't go.
Oh man, it's so fun. There's a connection, mind.
I've gone like kind of like off of it. And like, getting back to normal. And that does seem to like, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit more looser, and it just, Yeah, it seems like a better workout like that, but I would no way if like after we get done with this show, there's no way in hell I would go to the gym.
So one thing also like about the crazy shit is like I thought it was crazy because I was doing that. You know, like dude, I smoke cannabis and I go to the gym. Who fucking do that, man? Like wow.
I know several people.
Oh
that
no,
do
you
that.
go to the gym,
Yeah.
you just smell the weed on people now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I'm like, how?
That's what I even thought too. And I smoke, and I'm like, yo, God bless you, man. I can't.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but it's so much better. And then I started. So Joe Rogan, right? So Joe Rogan on his podcast, one thing that Joe Rogan really did for everybody, and so let me just show this. When you open my book, the acknowledgments and the introduction right here, guys. So the first thing, the opening lines of my book on the introductions is, damn, I'm about to listen to the Joe Rogan Experience when I noticed that my cat is about to eat the quails. This is the opening of my book, because this guy is in the middle of listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, and then, he has to stop his cat to eating the quails, and then he's going to talk about how he's married now and how he met his wife when they worked together in a bar, and, shit is pretty quiet right now, but then it wasn't always like this, and then he takes you back to all the time that shit was really bad. And what Joe Rogan did, man, he revolutionized one thing that but everybody calls the gene bro culture, So the gene bro culture is the main thing that is happening because Gene Shark, right? All these things, people want to go to the gym and post pictures, like bodybuilding, all these things, they're being like they're taking a main stage right now. Yeah. And you see, like, people are very motivated nowadays to go more to the gym. Just why? Because they want to post a picture in there. I see some people that are like, you don't really work out at the gym, dude.
You just took a picture there.
Yeah, like this guy, he's just doing, shit, like, oh, whatever. I'm not gonna even look at him, but like, I don't think he's working out. The chick is just here for the momentum. And what Joe Rogan did, because I was, smoking weed and working out, and that made me feel great. And I saw Joe Rogan addressing this one time, and when you have those aha moments that you are very thankful why podcasts exist, man. Like, wow, this guy is talking about that, bro. He's experienced the same way I'm experienced. Like, he was, saying that sometimes he would smoke and then go hit the bag. And then when he was hitting the bag, and then he started describing what I was feeling, the muscle and mind connection. You just feel like a little bit more primo. And I was like, God damn, this guy knows what he's talking about. It's the same way I feel, man. And then, I started paying attention to him. He kind of, I think he's showing like a huge part of the people now, a different way of thinking, because he fucking have an audience of millions and millions. So he's basically mainstream, but he's still doing the, let's say the God's work, like putting out the information that everybody needs to hear, even though it's just comics talking shit, they're talking in a way that is very enlightening, but I never saw this happen. And then I think right now I think Joe Rogan, what I mean when I'm talking about him is like, he is the synchronicity, or the black hole, the synchronicity, the thing that is getting everything to change. That might be what I mean right now.
Yeah, I remember listening to him when he had Aubrey Marcus on, and they would talk about their psychedelic trips, and then the creation of the On It gym, which is here in Austin, and so they would post. I remember all of that. Yeah, that was back in the day.
What's kind of funny is that, like, I do kind of in a way associate Joe Rogan with psychedelics. So it's funny how, like, you even preface like that at the beginning of the book, and like that's part of your story as well. That's just
because so there is guys. So Joe Rogan is kind of a myth, right? So between the Gene Bros, right? There is a huge oh my God, this guy, he's working out because he's just started listening to Joe Rogan. He's working out, he's doing jiu-jitsu, he's eating elk meat.
Yeah.
And, so there is a whole Joe Rogan pack that it comes with it when you start, knowing who Joe Rogan is. You become his fan. Because, I know, so I have a lot of, girls that are my friends because I work with them. And then I ask something, and they look at me, I go to the gym and stuff, and they ask me, oh, you like Joe Rogan too? I'm like, yeah, but I'm done with that phase, you know, of fucking glorifying him. You know, I went through all that already.
Yeah.
So they basically say their boyfriend, oh my God, my boyfriend won't stop talking about Joe Rogan. My boyfriend, you know, because the boyfriend, I think, he listens and then Joe Rogan says something impressive, like that makes them relate. And then they go like, hey, yo, you won't believe this. Joe Rogan, he just said that. And they go like, oh my God, shut the fuck up.
That's funny.
Do you work out, right, Lisa?
I do. Yes.
Oh, yes. Gotta get it. It's the best thing, man. Because so I realized one thing that made me change about the gym was when I realized that I gotta do this forever. You know, like shh.
Yeah.
You know, that does. I really do think, you know, just for me, going to the gym does help just mentally.
Mentally.
No,
so much.
No, after a bit, after a while, it becomes the mentally. Like
it's almost like therapy. Like it almost will become mental therapy. Like there'd be days where I had a shit day at work, and I looked forward going to the gym because I knew by the time I got home, like I didn't even give a shit about work anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Listen, like if you work, let's say, man, one thing like bartending or like you're dealing with people that might be an asshole, and like you're absorbing that vibe, you know, the fucking energy. I guess like here, I don't know, man. Sometimes I come home, I'm still like, fuck that guy. And, I go to the gym and all these things, they just disappear. Like it vanishes in my blood. Like, ooh, get off. You know, it's the workout is the endorphins is also like for me is very spiritual too because I'm always working out. I like to work out with no buddies and shit, but like some days I need it myself. You know, I need to be there with my headphones and listening to either motivation or maybe a book. And then it seems at the moment, man, it's very clear. I'm getting my shit together right then and there. Like, oh my God.
Sometimes I wonder, like you even said, with reading a book or working out. Sometimes I wonder if it's just like the break of like focusing energy on something that's getting you aggravated. Like now I'm going to focus my energy into like reading the book and then that changes my thinking, or I'm going to focus more on me working out. So now the shit that was bothering me, I'm like kind of letting go of, you know what I'm saying?
What I do is to put books that I already read it, you know. So one thing, if I have to say a book that I basically know from back to forward, it would be Mastery by Robert Greene. So this book, besides being like a great book, it has one of the most beautiful narrations in audiobooks. It's by this guy, Fred Sanders, whatever. I don't even know this guy, but just the way he speaks, you know, narrated by Fred Sanders. And then he goes, now, bro, it's really nice because his voice sounds like it's poetry, and Robert writes in a way that is very, you know, enlightening. So this guy's reading, and then I read all the book, like, so reading, I think I read this book around 10 times, because I want to, like, goddamn, this is great. I need to really know this. And listening, I always go to the gym and like, oh my God, that chapter 1, he talks about Leonardo da Vinci and how Leonardo da Vinci found out his life task when he was a little kid. So let me go back on that. So I would put the audiobook and then I would be working out high. And then I don't know, man, maybe the doors were open because I was doing the movements. And then I was just getting this great feeling that now I understand something that I haven't, you know, before. Like, okay, now I understand. Like, you know, it seems like for me it was the shadow work happening. Like, I'm doing that. Like, I'm going back in my memories and taking all the meanings that I didn't know. Because when you do these things, man, like mushrooms, I remember, so it's so deep. One time I did 5 grams, and I remember that I was 5 years old, and I hit my cousin with a bag of cookies in his face, you know. And then I start crying over that. Can you believe it? Like, oh my God, you know, Antonio, his name is Antonio. Like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, that day was rough. Like, you know how deep it goes? Because, I mean, what that means was I was carrying a little guilty. Because I remember when I hit him with the bag of cookies, everybody in the family circle us and they were telling me shit. Like, oh my God, Dan, you were horrible, you know, like your little cousin, and then you hit him with the bag. Wow. And that was stuck in my memory, and I didn't even know.
You like crucified yourself probably at your age for that because you felt so bad.
Yeah, because I mean that runs deep, right? It doesn't mean that, you know, I carried that and that makes me like, but it's still in you. Yeah. So there are a lot of things that you don't know, because that's what
Something like
said.
that right there could all of a sudden like also add to I have to worry about what everybody thinks about me. Something small like that, you know what I'm saying? It's just like one little notch and just a continued thought.
Yes, and it might trigger like your mind forever.
Yeah.
You guys heard that quote before? There's a quote that said, "Dude, you have a snake, dude."
No, it's my cat.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, she's
God.
she's something else right now.
I thought something was coming down. Like,
No,
okay,
I had somebody on a few days ago that had what was an equal, some kind of something, some type of reptile. Not me.
Jeez. I have 4 cats, dude.
Nice.
Yeah,
I actually acknowledge them in my acknowledgments in the book, because they need it. They have to be, they have to be recognized.
Oh, definitely with
Because
mine. I talk about
in the
mine a lot.
acknowledgments, I go, saying thank you to all the people, and then at the end, I go like, and to my 4 cats. Because if you're doing something, anything that takes you long in a chair, like you need to spend 6 hours sitting down, bro, you have a cat, and then you fucking like, oh my God, I can do this, and then you look around, he's right there looking at you with those loving eyes. It's just nice. It makes you feel like, okay, this is worth it. Fuck.
It is. It's great. That's awesome. That's neat.
Yeah, man.
So like
guys,
I know we both kind of also agreed on like, and we kind of did touch on it, but I was thinking about maybe getting back to it a little bit more if you don't mind. Kind of like even with like the social media and stuff, like how that kind of really does, I guess, like add to I don't know if it would be anxiety, depression, just everything, fear, hate. I think a lot of that has been rather prevalent, I think, in the last few years, unfortunately. I think we have been given anxiety to the point of hating others.
Do you think, let's put this example, right? Let's say Lisa, she's right there, and then she's going. And then listen, I have 100,000 followers on my Instagram, I'm somebody. I go to somewhere, and I don't know, like, she posts a picture, right? And then immediately she get those juicy likes. People are liking, and then, dude, you get in the dopamine rush, and then holy shit, I'm somebody.
Right.
So, do you think if you have a certain, like, you have a tendency to be narcissistic, right? You're already a narcissist, and then you putting that picture up there, and then everybody's like liking. Do you think that might cut your, like, you don't want to really connect with anybody that is right around you, because you feel better than them, right? That's one thing that really gets me afraid. Like, do those people, because they're kind of no fucks given. I know this because I work in restaurants, and I see influencers that come in, and they think they can break all the rules, to make a video, So I've been witnessing this for a long time. And now I realize, like, what is happening, right? They must, because it must be real to them. Like, they must deserve this level of non-fuckery. Like, oh, I can't, So basically what happens in restaurants, some influencers, they think they can go into the kitchen and make a video, like, that's fucking crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I noticed, like, one time that happens, and then one time also happened, like, an influencer, if you put something, like, this is a private area, like, only employees, like, you're not supposed to be that motherfucker.
Right.
And then, like, you opened it. I remember I went to get ice one time. This guy was inside the ice machine with the fucking camera. Like, what?
Oh my God. What are you doing?
I'm like, oh, it's from my TikTok. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude. And then, like, I live in Orlando. Orlando also is like, there is a huge tourist area. Disney. I work in iDrive. And my book, the story happens in iDrive. So there is, like, this cross of people. It looks like the Babel Tower. Like, a lot of people from a lot of countries. Nobody really speak the same language. Some of them do, some of them not. So if you have people, and then you have this entitlement, because it gets to a point where there's entitlement, right? Oh, if I post a picture right now about this place, like, bad mouthing them, is gonna destroy their reputation, because my millions of followers will see this, and I control reality now. It must be a god game, right? You think, when you have that kind of power. I remember
think it's a disregard. It's a complete disregard. Once you get all those influence, for some reason, people associate likes and the amount of followers for a complete disregard for rules in general.
Yes. It sucks, man.
And it sets them apart in their mind. It sets them apart that I am different. I'm not like the rest. I have, these types of criteria. I have these types of credentials that sets me apart, that I can do whatever I want. I'm a celebrity now.
Yeah, do you think, man, like, so we all do this hard work, right? I don't know. We try to show some information, right? That's what I do. And like, I got a few likes, and somebody that's just doing something stupid or like showing a booty picture, it's millions of that. It was like, oh my God, dude. I mean, I'm trying to do some work here, son. And then somebody's just, hanging out, and then that's the attention, right? That's the attention where it goes. Like, also the beauty standards of today's, if you follow social media and you wanna be Jackson, or you wanna be a Kardashian bitch, because one thing that I'm gonna address in my next book. So my next book is gonna be very sexual. It's gonna be, let me put this out there. So my next book is gonna be called Filthy Horny. Just put this out. Yeah, it's called Filthy Horny, My Bad Reputation. But it's all, so this guy, he, gets divorced, and then he was married to this chick. She was what I call a Kardashian copycat. So because think about, man, like, these girls, they fucking change culture, right? They have changed culture in a deep level where, like, I remember I was, 2015, I guess. I remember I was serving this table, and then this girl, she had some sort of surgery, and she didn't want you to know. Like, she was kind of be very, discreet about it. This was recent. And then I guess, I don't know when, if it was Kendall Jenner, I don't know. She changed her lips to be, so we have a curve here on the lips.
Mm-hmm. Cupid's bow, yeah.
Yeah, so she apparently filled the whole lip, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, everything became like, oh, cosmetics. It's cool now. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
You know what's funny? There was a comedian. Sorry to interrupt you. It's funny how you're saying this, because I just heard, I can't remember his name. Might be Hart. Might have been him. Yeah, it might have been him who was doing it. He was like, yo, do you remember back in the day, the only two people that you knew that got work because it was obvious and they couldn't hide it was Michael Jackson and Dolly Parton. He said nobody wanted to admit it. Even people who got it done, it was like, oh, don't tell anybody.
True.
He's like, now all of a sudden, he's like, ladies, he's like, your asses look like ants.
Yeah.
He's like, what is going? But he was like getting at how it's like at one point, no, hush, hush, and now all of a sudden, oh, fuck! If you haven't gotten it done, why not?
That's exactly it now. Yeah.
Listen, they want to show you apparently that they have the power, like they have the, I don't know, the money, whatever, to do a facial. Because I mean, lip injection is getting out of control, right? Like, girls are like, they're huge on lip injections. It's like kind of out of place, man. There's not even fitting on your geometry of your face. It kind of looks out of place right now. Yeah. And then that is one. Another thing, BBL, right?
Yeah, that's what he was talking about. That's why he was like, you ladies are starting to look like ants with this shit.
You see a lot of chicks right now, man. They're like, wow, how the fuck does this chick has this ass? It's impossible. Like, it doesn't combine, like, it's too. And then you go like, oh, once I became aware of the concept, what a BBL was, my reality kind of changed, because I was looking around at the gym, I was like, God damn, these girls, they have a low body fat and a huge ass. Oh my God, wow.
Lisa, I want to ask from your opinion, maybe it's something you would notice, because it wouldn't be unusual for like you to, I guess, to look, but guys now, if they look, oh my God. But from my opinion too, even from like noticing certain women in the gym that I was like, that can't be real. Unfortunately, I guess depending, of course they're going to be wearing revealing as shit clothing because they're going to show it off.
Very much.
I have even noticed during certain types of workouts, you can actually tell, I think, from the way the body is bending and moving, like, yo, that shit isn't real.
Correct.
Have you? Have you
Yes,
noticed that yourself?
I have. And
I think it's getting that bad. You can even
girls,
see they're fake.
Yeah, no, and I know of the girls that did get the BBL, and then so you look right, and you're like, oh yeah, I see the difference because you notice how if it's larger than what it was 6 months ago, it doesn't have any musculature to it. You know what I mean? Whereas the girls who do go in and lift heavy, thrust heavy, whatever, you start to see that musculature grow, and how it kind of shapes into that hamstring tie. And then the glute, max kind of comes over it. You see that because you're looking or because you see them all the time. Whereas the ones who have the BBL, you don't see any any of that.
Yeah, I've seen shits where it's like I wondered, like, is that even just padding?
And then you can see
padding through your gym clothes,
but there's no tie.
Like it didn't look right at all.
Musculature, yeah, you can tell. And then plus, it doesn't. How do you say flow into the thigh? Usually, women who have large glutes, normally, right? I mean, I'm Hispanic. We see them all the time, right? But Hispanics are known for it. Yeah. And so, but you see the thigh go, the glute, and then go into the large thigh. Whereas with the girls who have the BBL, you have the big BBL, and then you have a really small thigh, and you're like, wait, those two don't go together. Yeah.
That's the secret juice. Yeah, at the gym all the time now, if you look around, especially because, this is Florida, so you can immediately see when somebody's from Miami. Like, from Miami, there are like, even the mannequins has BBL in there. Man.
Yes, they do. They now do. The mannequins now have.
Right.
Yeah, they have, because otherwise you won't relate.
Yeah, I saw that. It's funny you say that about Miami because I lived in the Keys for a little bit, and when when I was leaving to go to Miami, before I left, they told me, don't stay too long. You may want to get a surgery or two because of the amount of, and Miami women are beautiful. I mean, for sure, they pay a lot of money for it. But yeah, and then social media plays into all that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you got a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people in Miami, they make. So, I have to put this out there, right? There's a huge sexual industry in Miami. Like Miami basically translates to, I don't know, man, like the dark side of human nature. There is a lot that happens in Miami that is guided to that, nightclubs area. Because, I mean, I live in Miami for 6 months, and I couldn't, like I got to get out of here, bro, because it's too, like, the vibe for me, it was too much party. Like I live on Brickell, so I was right near Blue Martini. So the whole area, if you're not drinking, it seems that you're not doing like what you're supposed to do. I don't know. It just felt that for me. And I was like, wow, bro, this is a 3-day city for me now. And then I left. And then I came to Orlando, which is like where I live now, which is more and more like peaceful for me.
Very good. Was there anything else that you wanted to like maybe cover about your book? Because we're like at an hour now. So
yes, sir. I mean, so one thing is just that, like, to show, like, now we have a book that, a guy smokes the first joint, and then he goes from that first joint to a period where he knows now he needs the cannabis. How that happened, and then there's like I show you a very spiritual side to cannabis in the book, which is kind of the Rastafari vision. The Rastafari considered that cannabis was the wisdom of Solomon, because in the Rastafari Bible, when Solomon, he was the wisest man on earth, and when he died, he got cremated. Then they throw his ashes through Jamaica and Ethiopia, and from those ashes was born a plant of wisdom. And that's what the Rastafari believes. So they believe that cannabis makes you aware of yourself, So It gets you to see yourself in a third person perspective. So I really want to show that, because that was, the greatest benefit for me. When I smoked the plant, I could access these states of minds that I never like. I could detach from the emotion. I could see that I was wrong instead of me just trying to, push the narrative that I was right. And I could, deal with my life in a more because I'm very anxious, very anxious. It's my nature, so I can't control that. So I need something to help me. And then working out, smoking cannabis. I don't smoke a lot of cannabis. Let's make that clear. So I smoke a certain amount just to keep the flow, the juice going, because that helps me. And I do need it to sleep, because if I go to sleep, I'm very anxious again, and then I'm thinking about the next morning or the next month. So that gets me present in the moment. And I feel like with today's society, one thing that we're really missing is we're not really present. We always grabbing the phone to show something. This has now been talked about for a while, so we might reach the next stage, which is, now we're gonna have a solution. We're gonna stop. Like, we're gonna really realize, like, wow, we should just, because what I want you when you read my book is to fucking, forget about your phone and connect with a story that is relatable to you. But also, I show you like insights of beautiful things, of nature, there's a lot of nature in my book, especially. And then there's the fun part where he works in a nightclub, and it's just drugs, sex, and rock and roll, as the saying goes. So there is a mix in my book that you're not gonna find anywhere else. So that's, I think, what it makes it unique. So I'm very proud when I put this book out, because it took me like a long time, man. When you think you're done with the book, wow, you're not done, son.
Oh no, I couldn't. Like I said before, people who write books, I give you a lot of credit.
Now listen, when I thought I was done with the book, I had to rewrite it 3 more times. Can you believe it?
I have heard that from other people too. That it's like,
I was like, which was good, because at some point I came up with like, now it was I was like cutting, and then because your mind gets to this point. I don't know, man. Like, if you guys do something creative, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. Like, you start communicating with this power, I guess, and then this power start explaining something to you. Because let's say when I was writing the book, what was happening to me was I would work like, oh, I'm working chapter 12. Let's say, let's show the alcoholic problem, and then I would go to the gym, and in the gym, this voice would tell me like, hey, yo, you have a typo on page 4. Like, and then I would go back to page 4. Oh, goddamn, the typo is right there. So this was happening in a different level at the time, right? And I think, like, when you open yourself to the muse, right, like the thing you want to do, right? Yeah, it gets yourself starting this path, man, where you're gonna operate with this power. And I think that's what we all need, because we're not operating with this power anymore. It's been a long time. And then when you let that power come in and guide you, it's much more powerful than whatever you think your ego thinks you want it. Like, oh, I want to be famous or I want that. No, if you took this path, bro, and then you make that happen, you might get whatever you need, like, for life. Because whenever I think about my book, it's just the most beautiful ending. Like, ooh, like, I can make a living writing, bro. This is amazing. Like, I put some story that I found it compelling in a book. You read it because you need, like, a story, made like this. There's nothing like that out there. And then we work together, I read, I write, you read. Boom, beautiful.
Very well
That's
said,
awesome.
sir.
What are you guys gonna do?
What do you mean?
Guys gonna have plans today?
Me, after this, yeah, I actually do. Well, after this, I got a few things I got to take care of, and I do have another show tonight, actually, too.
What?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah. Actually, I booked like two tonight, and I'm like, oh, by accident.
Yes, man, you're pretty good, because
We have a by accident show, and I'm like, oh man, I have to change one time now to get. Oh, I'm not looking forward.
You do great, man. That was nice. You guys are nice. I did have fun.
Yeah, thank you. No, that was a really good talk. I really think there was a lot of good things said on that. Like, again, I really don't normally have much of an opinion, and like I do always state, like, there are, I guess, benefits to this stuff, like we were saying. But again, I have always said that I think maybe it can also be done without it. But I thought there was a lot of good conversations. I think we're both like, even see how this becomes a slippery slope and becomes negative. And especially like even just with social media and stuff, I thought that was a really good, serious conversation, actually. Yeah.
We hit the spot, son.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. It's a little bit different from my show, but I do think it's just, all this kind of stuff fits anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's all things that are affecting our mind and then make us, do the things that we do. And don't even question sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I'm just doing it because that's, whatever.
Happiness is temporary right now, right? It's just lasts a few seconds of a fucking social media post. Like,
sometimes it's like crack hits, dude.
Yeah.
That was the thing. That's why. That's why I stopped even trying to chase or cover topics that are going on recently. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like then it starts becoming like, well, whose show put it out faster? Whose was better? Now I'm doing it because this person who has a bigger show possibly than me is doing it, so now I should do it. I was like, how about I'm just gonna cover shit that interests me? I don't care if it's 10 or 15 years old. I'm sorry.
And also, like, fuck, man, focus on the simple things, right? Like, what is a podcast?
Let me start dropping one every other day because this one's going to be the banger that gets me all the fucking new subs. It's like, fuck, I could care less now.
No, you keep doing it, and then, like, it's a conversation.
I can't lust the results. Just like, I hate to say it, just like Aleister Crowley said, when it came to magic, you can't lust the results. You have to start lusting the results.
We should do an episode about that, too, if we can, man. Let's do another one if we can.
Yeah, sure. We can definitely have another
I have a lot to talk about. Like Crowley and
for sure, yeah. No, we can definitely do that.
Carl Jung too. A lot of shadow.
No, I would like to talk about him more. Tell you the truth, he's somebody that I've kind of like actually thought about covering. Very interesting character.
Carl Jung?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, let's do it because I know his life. I know that guy's life.
All right, yeah. Maybe maybe that's something I could look into too, and then we can all talk about it. Yeah, I read.
So he wrote a version of the I Ching, which is like fucking 600 pages.
It's probably one of the reasons why Crowley made him a saint in the Gnostic Mass.
No, man, like it's weird, man. He did access like some higher level of knowledge.
For sure. I think he was an occultist and he was really good at painting archetypes and just, even pointing out the stuff that you don't want to think about, but it's there.
Yeah, the shadow work is brilliant. It's everything you need because everybody denies that.
And like,
we all deny.
Believe it or not, even in my opinion, when it came to him, I think a lot of stuff, like I was saying, was archetypes, but I even think the stuff that he used visually, sometimes I do think was kind of like even trying to tie back to physical change inside the human mind when you're having magical experiences. That's just my opinion. I do think he was actually very deeply encoded with occult stuff in his writings.
Yeah, they say, when you write, they say that you are conjuring the forces. Yeah. So whenever you put that, because when I think I'm writing, right, so I want to write a chapter of a conflict that is going to happen. So I need to conjure like this kind of conflict force into this page right now. So it has to go dark. So it has to go this way. And because words, whenever you put when you open the mind to these conjunctions and you put everything together, it kind of is the tiles, is you're putting tiles to the structure. And then when you read it, you have, because I feel like whenever you read a book, man, you need to read it. And it's better for you to understand the book than to just read the book. You got to understand the book, Right. So this, when you put it on paper, you're making like some sort of magic for sure. Mm-hmm. And the guy was the king.
And a lot of stuff, even with him, and then I'll end it with this because this is like a little bit more into like a deeper topic that me and Lisa covered. But like, a lot of stuff with him and us other people when they even talk about like the darkness or the shadows or like, get into, shit like that or shadow work or people look at it like that. Even when we were covering the eyeball series, if you're going to walk across your pupil at some point, you walk across your eye at some point, you're going to have to fall into that darkness to get across the other side. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of eyeball symbolism. So for me, I can understand why a lot of things about the darkness and how they're not really specifically talking about what a lot of people think they're talking about.
Yeah, one thing you said right now, if we can finish with this maybe, is that like he wrote, right? He has the power to conjure like these forces, because I mean he changes your mind, right? So I think there's one quote that's pretty popular, and it's a meme on the internet right now. Everybody kind of shares, because I see everybody kind of, you know, sharing this. And there's that quote, like, an old alchemist said to his disciple, if you truly do the work and, you know, unknown friends will come and seek to help you. This quote of his is getting widely spread out there. And through this quote, man, it's crazy, because this quote alone gave me hope in some like parts of my life that I didn't, you know, have any much, you know, I didn't have a lot to be hopeful for. And then I read that, and then just that, you know, just the, because I mean, I love one thing about the internet that is nice is the memes, right? Because the memes they're quick. You see a meme, you understand it. Like, it's a joke, it's insightful, it's beautiful. Sometimes it gets you emotional. It's just a, you know, a quick message, and it's kind of brilliant.
Well, I would even say that quote matches a lot of my experiences just from podcasting. You know what I'm saying? Even just going along with the way my show has changed. You know, I could say like that stuff, like, you know, I had an issue with the Occult Rejects with, you know, getting rid of, you know, Lux just for whatever reasons. And like, I really was just like, you know, I don't know like what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I wanted to keep it going, and I knew there was topics I wanted to cover. But like somehow like people, and you know, most of them were all listeners. They weren't even people who had a show. They may have shows now, but like I ended up with like Teresa, because she was constantly feeding me stuff for like shows or topics. Now I, you know, Lisa, I have Headless Giant, who was a listener, you know, Colby, who was like somebody else. Like I have like a crew around me now that's like almost kind of just like keeping it going. You know, different co-hosts, different people that can come on. And, like, I wasn't, like, even looking for it. You know, I mean, I was so confused. I don't even think I could even – I didn't know what to do, really. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, I'm not going to let it stop me. And it's like all these people just popped up, like, out of nowhere. And I was like, this is a perfect fit. You know what I'm saying?
The universe is conspiring.
Yeah. And I was like, and it's like it's just taking on its own path now. And I'm not even – now it's like I don't have enough time to cover as much shit as I could with everybody.
I have to say, because it's gonna be for me the mushroom message. Yes. So whatever the mushroom said, man, when you're doing what you're supposed to do, right? You start meeting these frequencies. Is very specific. That's what I mean, for me, since that day I tried to do this, you know, it comes to you, man. Like, it's funny because you cannot, you know, make a logical explanation for these things. And it seems like, oh, now he got it. I don't know, man. The universe wants to make sure that you have it. Like, hey, you want this for sure, bro? I want to see how much. Because it's insane. Sometimes it's just like the extra mile, dude. And then, oh my God, I cannot go. But then you go, and then, oof, you know, the door open. Oh my God, now it's cool. You know, because I had this a lot in my life. Like, it's funny how many times it happens. Fuck, it's just insane. I mean, I would love to, like, do you guys know Angel's numbers? Do you guys have any, you know?
No, I never got big into that. I mean, I do look at, I guess, like, numbers, like, in with Gematria.
No, because, I mean, that's
not,
one
like,
thing
equating
I think a lot of people would like to have this addressed, you know, like, what those are, because there's a lot of bad information out there and also good information, but, like...
See, I've heard that a lot, so that's why I've never really gotten too much into it, so... And I just look at the numbers differently. If it matches an angel numerically, I might take that into consideration. You know?
No, for me, it worked for some reason because I had like a lot of positive like experience with it. That, you know, decisions involve decisions and stuff like that. So I think it's one topic that, dude, if you can't address it, because it's everybody is on their minds. You know, everybody now. You go in somebody's Instagram, especially like. Those new influencers, the wannabe influencers, it's like 11:11 and law of attraction.
you know what it was for me too, and I think why I just never got into it, because I was like thinking a few things. I was like, either this is like a whole other system and I don't feel like figuring it out, or studying it, or this shit just doesn't make any sense. But like when I was into like really studying and reading a lot of stuff with magic, all these angels are associated with certain planets or things with Kabbalah, and those spheres or those planets will have numerical value, which will like match them. And when I used to see all these angel numbers, I'm like, well, those don't match like my stuff. So I'm like, I don't know where that's coming from, so I never got into it. And then I questioned it, and I was like, well, so, like, why is, like, maybe 9 for Gabrielle, and why is that, like, something else for... I'm like, well, how does that work? And I'm like, I'm not even caring.
Yeah, one thing, like, so my book for a few weeks, it ranked on first place in New Age spirituality, when I was out there. But then that was one thing that got me a little, I didn't know what to think about that, because I do not preach any New Age ideas to anybody, like all these things about the law of attraction and all those things, the secret, those things, man. Like, I think it's a danger, like you should be aware of how contaminated the whole thing is by self-help gurus, which they just want your money, so there is, because it's kind of a scam right now. The law of attraction, all these things, like everybody went down from that movie. So one thing that
everybody's manifesting.
Like let's do a podcast addressing that the girl was Rhonda Byrne, because it's just a bad human, I guess. Whatever, man. Right? Yeah. Because you put this information out there, and then it makes you. Because I was a victim of this. I used to be like wishful thinking my life and be like, oh no, because dude, man, this is insane. There's a part in the book where it says you're fat because you're having fat thoughts. It's crazy, dude. No, like you're not, like, you're putting the energy in your body. So it has a delusional side to it that hurts a lot of people, man. And like, I see Instagram, somebody add me, I'm go check it out. Who is it's like manifesting the life I want.
Yeah. That's why I say manifesting.
No, I mean, it's cool if you really know what is an epidemic. There's an epidemic, right? I think you don't really know what that is, lady. Like, there's a whole dark side involved in this shit that is just not like, they're hermetics. That's one thing that it works. You apply the 7 laws, and then the law of vibration, the law of polarity, the law of gender, the law of rhythm. You put this in orders. It's kind of like you uncovering the field. Like, now like.
Oh, it's like the stuff from the Kabbalah too, right?
Yes, correct.
I love that book. I think that's an amazing small little book.
What that book was the book left to us by our ancestors to learn how to deal with the Dark Ages. So this book, it has the knowledge so you can take control again.
I think if you use that book and apply it to Kabbalistic stuff, it even helps so much. I think it helps kind of get the idea of how things may not always black and white. There's mixing of energies. Because it explains that in the book, I think, perfect. At what point does love become hate? Because they're just polarities, and it's just one minus less the other one. And like, if you start almost thinking of that association with spheres on the tree, for me, I think that helped work a lot, helped me a lot.
Yeah, man, that's man, that's what we need right now. That's fucking knowledge. So if you see, like, these people now, they want to, believe in the law of attraction and then just wish for the thing and be posting positive, like, the toxicality of positivity right now is something that's fucked up. Right, because everybody's just like, no, you can be positive, but then you can work for it too.
See that, that's the whole thing. Like, why I think it's a problem. What you're saying, like, I guess toxic positivity. It's kind of like, I mean, I think at one point there was a lot of people who were even lying to themselves about what they should be doing and wearing at one point. But they went along with it just because that's what I'm supposed to do. I do think you get people out there on the opposite end talking about how great your life is and how great you are mentally in such a shitty time. Yeah. But you're actually not, and you're just lying to yourself.
Gaslighting.
Like the person to gaslighting them own selves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you like, you see other people posting that shit. You really don't know their life. I don't know. It's like, sometimes I just think, like, you just tell yourself everything's okay and like you just play the part.
Yeah, for me, I like to address, the mountain that is coming. Yeah, dude, always be ready for it, and just think about life. Very stoic. So stoicism, you gotta have, your know yourself. Just hold your, all your beliefs and know because everything we are just programmed right now, right? Like, do you know all the things that makes you?
So I've had a few people send me podcasts based on that stuff, telling me I probably love that shit. I've heard of it and kind of looked into it, but I've actually had a lot of people suggest listening to stuff on that. They're like, you probably love that stuff. It gets deep.
About what?
Stoicism, whatever you just said before.
Yeah, we can do one stoicism, brother.
I really don't know much about that stuff at all, but I've
Marcus Aurelius, bro, that guy was the best motherfucker that ever lived. That guy was rich as fuck. That guy had the biggest empire on earth. That guy, he was just a killing machine, but then he chooses to be a fucking humble man. Like he could have anybody killed. He could have, any houses or anything he wanted. Yet sometimes he would choose to sleep on the floor. Sometimes, he would just because there's a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And it's the most beautiful thing because you see like this fucking billionaire, right? Let's think about this guy is a billionaire. He writes it down how he is gonna forgive a friend, and what is the psychology tricks he's applying to make his mind forgive his friend. Like, goddamn, man, look at how insightful and deepful this guy is. He's putting these things on paper, and he's an emperor, bro. He's thinking about forgiveness, so how like a human gets to these heights of consciousness. And stoicism is very good because no bullshit in it, no bullshit at all. You're not gonna have just think. For me, stoicism is like do the work, enjoy the hard part of the work. That's what stoicism is. Be okay under pressure, man. Be okay under stress. Diamonds, I think, are formed under pressure. So if you're not really, succeeding under pressure, who are you, right? Because that's one thing. You should put yourself in constant discomfort so you know that you are able to handle it when it comes to you. So that's basically what stoicism is. Like, why would Marcus Aurelius sleep on the floor? Because he want to remember how tough times are. So they have all this philosophy about enjoying the hardships. So if it comes to you, because think about it, if you know how to deal with the small things, if you don't know how to deal with the small things, the bigger things, you're not going to deal with it either, right? Yeah. So these guys are very big in handling everything in the best way possible. Like they devote yourself to greatness. Wake up in the morning, have a goal, and then go to basics. Like thank for the air you're breathing, be thankful for the sun, all these things, and then work with your body and mind first, and then go about the day. Morning routines for the Stoics was like a big thing, man. It's fucking amazing.
All right, and I guess you know what? I think we'll leave it there. Do you want to let everybody know again where they could find your stuff, please? Plug your book.
Yes. Guys, thank you very much. So, I'm Daniel Diaz, folks. So, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Daniel Ryder Diaz. I think I have it right here. Yes, add me there. I can give you some motivation to go to the gym or, some insights about writing. And also, I'll talk about my book. I address psychedelics, how these medicines are, can be used in a very positive way. So my book, guys, I keep talking. My book, you can find my book on Amazon. Please go there. Who would have thought? A Survivor with PTSD story. And you can have your copy delivered to your home, or you can have it on your phone. It's up to you. And then it would be nice to hear from you, some feedback. If you can leave me a comment, I'll appreciate it. Awesome. And then follow me on Instagram. I'll see you guys. Hopefully, guys, let's do another one. I like you guys.
For sure. Yeah, no, I think that was a fun talk, for real. Yeah.
Yes, we can go to those topics.
And the links for the book and the links for Instagram will all be in the bottom, so go check that out. Lisa, thank you very much for jumping on again, especially in such short notice. And that is the end of another NY Patriot episode. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.